Computer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a class session today on phrasal verbs. In today's lesson, which is lesson 12, it is a lesson that I did not create, but a free lesson that I found online. However, the difference between what you find online and what we're going to do today is that I will actually interact in real time with a student. So here we have a lesson, and it is a lesson of phrasal verbs. So let me ask my student today to just introduce himself by name.
Okay.
Mhm,
So first, I would like to thank you, ma'am, for giving me the opportunity for being with you for the second time.
mhm.
Well, it's Hussein for those who haven't been present for last time. So it's Hussein. I'm 27 years old. I'm Algerian.
Mhm. Fantastic. So those of you who are from Algeria, if there is a tone or inflection that others who are in other parts of the world, in other countries, may not really understand, I'll try to clarify if there is somewhat of a mispronunciation of a word or the definition of something. Today, we're going to talk about phrasal verbs.
Mm-hmm.
I will read first as Vanessa, if you will read as Louise. All right.
Louise. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So those of you who are watching this live, just play along, read along, and see if you can keep up with what we're doing here. I will start at the count of three as Vanessa. 1, 2, 3. I did the stupidest thing the other day. I'm embarrassed to even talk about it.
Haha. Come on, fess up. What would you do?
Okay. So that word Hasbian is going to be would. It's a contraction of what would, but we're going to say would you do? What do you do?
What do you do?
Great. Remember,
Okay.
I, remember, I told you about how my boss always talks down to me and treats me like I'm incompetent.
Yeah. And I said you should speak up. It's not right to treat an employee like that.
Well, I didn't want to cause any problems, so I usually just try to tune him out. But yesterday, I finally got fed up and called him out on it. Respectfully, of course, I just pointed out that I've been with the company for 2 years and he doesn't need to spell out every single task as if I were a child.
Oh, good for you. How how do you react?
Okay, so these how'd, it's the contraction of would. How would he react? But it becomes how'd he react?
How do you react?
He didn't even let me finish. He cut me off and said I was challenging his authority. Then he rattled off all of his accomplishments and started harping on the importance of new employees needing to respect the company hierarchy.
Uh, uh, so did you keep quiet or tell him off?
Before I could say anything, another colleague of mine butted in. I thought she was going to stand up for me, but she backed him up instead. That really stung because I had opened up to her about my frustrations and she had promised to help me out.
So I don't get it. What was the stupid part?
I was at a restaurant with my best friend and I had been ranting about my boss for a solid 10 minutes when suddenly my friend blurted out, "Look behind you."
Mm-hmm.
You're here.
Okay. Let me guess. Your boss was right there.
Bingo.
How much did he overhear? Overhear?
enough to make him furious. Although he was trying not to let on because he was having dinner with his wife and kids, but I could tell by the look on his face that he's definitely going to bring up my attitude problem at the next performance review.
Ouch. Well, lesson learned. Always check your surroundings before you start to vent.
Absolutely. Okay, very nice reading through as if you were actually speaking. Hello,
Mhm.
Adela. Welcome to class.
Hello, thank you. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Hello.
I'm very happy that you're here. Say hello to Hasbian.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So Adela, take a moment and tell us a little about yourself. Where are you from? How long have you
Okay.
English? Anything that you
I
wish us to know.
I am from Azerbaijan and I live in Sheki and I'm education consultant for
Mhm.
high school students.
Hmm. And what course are
Okay.
you teaching? What course are you teaching?
Actually, we advise suggestion how they can search the university college and how they can write essay application admission process. We can teach and organize the conversation club, volunteering days, holidays like that.
Awesome, awesome. And how long have you done this?
For 5 years.
Okay, so you're
Mhm.
pretty astute at doing such a thing.
Oh,
Now,
that's great.
yeah, now that you're in, I'm going to ask Hasbian to explain to you what we just did. Then I'd like the two
Okay.
of you to read the dialogue. And
Okay.
Louis, since you read as Louis the last time, to give you additional practice, I'll ask you to read as Vanessa Louis, and Adela, you'll read as Louis. So first, I will listen to
Okay.
Hasbian explain to you what we're doing. We're talking about phrasal verbs today. So explain to her what
Okay.
we're doing.
Okay. So the lesson, as you can see, is about phrasal verbs. We was reading, me and Madden, a short dialogue
Uh-huh.
that is between Vanessa and Louis, and she was talking as she's Vanessa and I was Louis.
Okay.
So now what will
Mhm.
you do? What will the two of you do?
We are going to read it again.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
So you
give
can
her,
start.
Okay. Okay.
no,
I did
no,
the
but this
uh,
time I want you to have the different role, Hasbian. Since you read as Louis before, Has, I'd like for you to read as Vanessa.
Okay, no problem. Okay. So I did the stupidest thing the other day. I'm embarrassed to even talk about it.
haha, come on, fess up. What you do?
Okay, I want you to remember when you see the what d, it's a contraction for the word what would.
Yeah.
So you want to put
What
in would
what okay.
what you do.
What you do?
Mhm.
What you do?
I remember I told you about how my boss always talks down to me and treats me like an incompetent.
Yeah, and I said you should speak up. It's not right to treat an employee like that.
Well, I didn't want to cause any problems, so I usually just try to turn him out. But yesterday I finally got and called him out on it. Respectfully, of course. I just pointed out that I've been with the company for 2 years and he doesn't need to spell out every single task as if I were a child.
Okay, this word is going to
Oh,
be tune out now. Tune, not turn, but tune out. Okay,
Okay, turn him,
tune him. Tune.
turn him out.
Hmm.
oh, good for you. How he react?
He didn't even
How
let me
he
finish. He didn't even let me finish. He cut me off and said I was challenging his authority. Then he rattled off all his own accomplishments and started harping on the importance of new employees needing the respect to respect the company to respect the company. Hi, hierarchy? Is it hierarchy?
Well, it's going to end in key, hierarchy, hierarchy, hierarchy.
Okay.
Hierarchy.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. So did you keep quiet or tell him off?
Mm, okay. Before I could say anything, another colleague of mine butted in. I thought she was going to stand up for me, but she backed him up instead. That really stung because I had opened up to her about my frustrations and she had promised to help me out.
So I don't get it. What was the stupid part?
I was at a restaurant with my best friend and I had been ranting about my boss for solid 10 minutes when suddenly my friend blurted out, "Look behind you."
Let me guess, your boss was right there.
Bingo!
How much did he over you?
Enough to make him furious, although he was trying not to let on because he was having dinner with his wife and kids. But I could tell by the look of his face that he's definitely going to bring up my attitude problem at the next performance review.
Ouch. Well, lesson learned. Always check your surroundings before you start to vent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Very good. The both of you read very nicely. Adela, do you have any questions about any of the phrasal verbs that you heard today?
Yes,
Okay, which
there are a
one?
lot of new words.
Okay,
Actually, face up. I don't know face up.
okay. Were you in the online English chat earlier today?
No.
Okay, that was the very first one that I gave, fess up. So when Vanessa says, I did the stupidest thing and I'm embarrassed to talk about it, Lewis says, fess up, what you do. What do you think that word fess up might be alluding to?
Mm,
Or,
uh,
go
I
ahead.
think it means so. Just say what you have in your mind. Don't be shy.
Mm-hmm. Say what is on your mind or
Uh-huh.
take responsibility for what you said. You know,
Okay.
you will not say, I didn't do anything. Just tell me, what did you do? What did you do?
Okay.
Okay. So it'd be, what exactly did you do? So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So here I could say, ha ha, come on. What exactly did you do? So this becomes almost redundant. You know, we don't need to put this here. We could say, ha
Mm-hmm.
ha, fess up, or ha ha, what did you do? Ha ha, what you
Mm-hmm.
do?
Hmm.
Do you understand?
Okay.
Well, it reminds me of
Thank
an
you.
idiom.
Yes. And what is, we can also use phrasal verbs as idioms, but today
Uh-huh.
the topic is phrasal verbs, but fess up could be an idiom. What other
Well,
idiom, what other idiom have you heard?
the idiom I know is to vent your spleen.
Vent your spleen.
Yep.
I don't know that I know that one, but I think I know what it means. It's like spill your guts, tell what you know. Vent,
Uh-huh. I think the meaning of this idiom is to just to be honest and to tell what you've got in your mind, what you've
yes.
got as a secret.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And vent means to speak. Vent your spleen. So vent means to speak. So speak your mind. Okay.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Any others, Haas or Adela?
Well, I was about to ask you about the meaning of the word that I couldn't read
Which is
lately. Uh, can I see the rest of the dialogue, please?
mm-hmm. I'm not tune in.
Tune.
Hi, hierarchy.
Okay,
I still
hierarchy.
cannot read it.
Okay, hierarchy means I don't see the word. It's here. Hierarchy. It is this.
Yeah.
No, below.
Okay.
Ah,
So,
yeah.
okay, hierarchy. So hierarchy is, Adila is an educational consultant. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
have a doctorate in education. Which
Okay.
which one do you think is higher, Adila or me?
I think you're higher.
Yes, because I have a doctorate. So
Okay.
hierarchy
Mm.
means the order in height, which is greater.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So here, Vanessa is saying that employees need to respect the company hierarchy. She needs to respect the boss. She is the
Mm-hmm.
employee, he's the boss,
Mm.
so she should respect that position by not talking
Mm-hmm.
badly about him.
Okay.
Okay. And the word
So what is the meaning of the verb harping on? Harping on?
harping on means to continuously talk about it. You're constantly talking about the same thing over and over and over again. You're repeating the same thing that you've talked about before. I hate my boss. You told me that yesterday. I hate my boss. You're telling me
Mm-hmm.
again today. And tomorrow you're going to harp on the same thing and tell me that you hate your boss. So
Mm-hmm.
harping is to continue to talk about the same thing.
Okay.
Then we have the
And
phrase tune in. I think we were going to look at the phrase tune in. And
Tune in.
when we tune into something, it is to listen carefully. Tune
Okay.
in. We're going to tune in by listening carefully to something that someone is talking about. That's tuning in. Okay. Tune in like, what? What?
Mm-hmm.
You're tuning in.
Okay. Is
Okay.
it whisper?
No, it's not necessarily a whisper because you can tune into a radio station, but it does mean
Okay.
to listen very carefully. Listen very
Okay.
carefully. When I give instructions for students to join me and then they have difficulty, it could be that they don't understand the vocabulary word that I give to log in, or it could be they just don't understand something. I'm not really sure. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that means like tune in every day at 12 o'clock, you'll find me live. That's not necessarily true, but that is an example. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if I say
Okay.
tune in tomorrow, if you want to attend the live class, what do I mean by tuning in tomorrow? What does it mean?
Well, it means to listen carefully, as you've been saying,
Okay.
to listen carefully.
In this particular case, tuning in doesn't mean to listen carefully. It means to show
Uh,
up. It means to show up. Tune in,
okay.
tune in tomorrow at 12 o'clock. So it has many
Okay.
variations of the word tune in. This is why it's a
Mm-hmm.
phrasal verb, because it can have very many, one of the reasons it can be a phrasal verb, because it has different meanings. It could be tune in tomorrow, like go to your computer, go to YouTube and listen to the lesson that I'm giving. Or what did you say? I'm listening very carefully. But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that I'm whispering. I could be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm whispering. All right.
Okay.
I think this will take us to the end of the lesson for what I have today. You will see that
Mm-hmm.
this will post when they allow it to post. So at this point, be sure if you have time to leave feedback. Adila, thank you so much for joining me today. I would like for you to leave feedback on this video in the English chat when you go there so that others may perhaps will join me on tomorrow. I most likely will be here tomorrow, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
know the time. Adila, do you have any questions that I could answer for you? Okay, and Hasbian, can you tell me what value did you receive today from today's lesson?
Well, if we talk about parts verbs, two parts verbs, I had an idea before, but today I've learned like 5 or 6 new verbs.
And can you, and
Mm,
in this little presentation that you're giving now, can you use any of the phrasal verbs in your response as to how much value you received? So for example, I'm really happy that I tuned in to today's session. She was able to spell out what we were going to do in class without me showing
uh-huh.
you any of the phrasal verbs.
I was about to use the same two parts verbs
And you can, that's
to
fine.
tune in. So while you were speaking during the dialogue, I was tuning in to you.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. Adela, do you have anything that you'd like to add at this time? Tell me, what value did you get from today's lesson?
I get this some idioms, not idioms, phrasal verbs, and
And
also new verbs.
try to use one or two of the phrasal verbs that you heard or learned today.
Tuning is the listen carefully.
Mhm.
My internet access was poor. I couldn't catch.
You had difficulty tuning in today.
Yeah.
All right, so now before I go, Haas and Adela, I'd like for the two of you to say something and try to include at least one phrasal verb that you learned today.
Well,
You're speaking to Adela now.
okay. I'm trying to remember the verbs that I've seen in the dialogue. To tune in, to did we use the verb rattle up? Was it a
Oh,
rattle up?
Okay, rattle on, harping
Rattle
on.
on.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Rattle on. Tune in.
Okay, but I only want you to talk about the ones that you remember. If you don't remember them, then it's not necessary to speak about them.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to talk to her, but I've just remembered a verb that I usually use, which is to batter up.
Mm-hmm.
It's an idiom in the same time, to batter up,
Butter up is a phrasal verb and an idiom. Mm-hmm.
which means to talk to someone in a nice way in order to get something you want,
Mm-hmm. This
to
is true.
batter up,
Butter
to
up.
show him that you are a good person, so as you can get what you want at the end.
Okay, that's very good. Adila, you could say to Hasbian, I'm glad that you were able to tune in to the session and you were able to participate in conversation where we actually read and spelled out what we wanted to say through dialogue.
Well, Adela, I was so happy that you've been that you took part of the dialogue of today's dialogue
Mm-hmm.
to take part.
So what do you,
sorry,
okay, that's
I
okay.
couldn't hear.
There is
Yeah, my internet.
okay, that's fine. So there was a little bit of an interruption and some difficulty. I hope that you will be able to watch the video and
Yeah,
get
you sure?
clarity on what we did today, Adila. But I do want to
Okay.
thank both of you for being here today. And I'll just
Thank you,
ask
madam.
if you'll just leave feedback on the video once it posts.
Of course, you deserve it.
Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you.